My name is Laura Good. I normally teach out in Crozet at Whitehall Meditation, and I'm very happy to be back here tonight. So we'll start with a meditation. So we're coming to the end of a day. Every day we wake up and get to live a little longer. It's a good day. No matter what has happened, we can always start again. Each moment by grounding ourselves where we are. And no matter what quality of body or mind we would label it, we're alive. So noticing our body on the chair, on the seat, being held by gravity, nothing we need to do. Let's take a few deep breaths and just relax into our body, into the chair, into the earth. There's never been a day like this one, and there's never been a moment like this one. And now a new moment, moment to moment, breath to breath. And all we need to do is just sit here. Letting whatever arises just gently come to our attention and then float away. So just check in. We don't even have to label what we feel or what the sensations are predominantly. We can just notice that we are here. A body composed of elements that have been continually recycled through time on this earth. Elements originally from space, all returning to what we call ourselves in this lifetime. Earth, air, fire, water. Some of these elements were in other people who roamed this place before. Some of these elements used to be in plants and trees. Some of these elements have passed through bodies of animals who nurtured their young. And some of these elements passed through the first people's bodies who nurtured their young. All of this without us doing a thing. And no matter what we may feel or think about what we look like, we are in this body at this moment in time. And as hard as things may seem sometimes, we can also just sit here and enjoy the breath and enjoy that we have come to life in this moment. So checking in again. How is this body and feelings in this moment? No matter where our thoughts may take us, we are not our thoughts. We can be rooted to our awareness just as plants are rooted to the earth, just like our breath is connected to our body. Just noticing how we can be rooted in our awareness just by gently turning our attention to the breath. So, what does it mean to practice? When we meditate, it can really mean not doing much of anything at all. being gentle and friendly with our attention and our thoughts. For there is nowhere to go, no one certain person to be. And we can watch our mind as we let go of the things and labels we may think who we are. We can let go of the problem solver, the list maker, the leader, the follower, the meditator. And we can easily let go of these things because they don't permanently exist. Thoughts, opinions, and plans arise, capture our attention, and then fall away, all without us doing a thing. In the words of the poet Ryokan, first days of spring, the sky is bright blue, the sun huge and warm. Everything's turning green. Carrying my monk's bowl, I walk to the village to beg for my daily meal. The children spot me at the temple gate and happily crowd around, dragging to my arms till I stop. I put my bowl on a white rock, hang my bag on a branch. First, we braid grasses and play tug of war. Then, we take turns singing and keeping a kickball in the air. I kick the ball and they sing. They kick and I sing. Time is forgotten. The hours fly. People passing point at me and laugh. Why are you acting like such a fool? I nod my head and don't answer. I could say something, but why? Do you want to know what's in my heart? From the beginning of time, just this, just this. In these last few moments, I invite you to recall something from the day, something small that perhaps warmed your heart or brought a smile. A bird singing in the sun, a puppy wagging its tail, the sound of a loved one's voice saying hello. Just as we would wish all the good things that warm our heart to those we love, We can send those wishes to all beings. May all beings be well. May all beings live life with ease. May all beings be safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And may all beings be for the benefit of all beings. Welcome back, everyone. So once again, my name is Laura, and I'm from Whitehall Meditation. We meet twice a month at the Crozet Library. So we meet one Saturday afternoon a month and one Wednesday evening, and we might be expanding that soon. But the best way to find out what time and what day we're meeting is to go to our website, which is whitehallmeditation.org. And on Saturday, April 5th, we're going to have a special guest of Robert Hodge, who actually started Whitehall Meditation. So Bob is going to be visiting, and he will be giving a talk on April 5th at 3 p.m. at the Crozet Library. So if you want to come and say hello or just check out the Crozet Library, it'd be a great chance to do so. So I recently got back from LA. I go there quite a bit. I used to live there. I go there for work. And it's the first time I've been back since the fires in January. And my sister lives there, who I work with, but she wasn't ever in danger from the flames. But of course, even if your house survived, the air is so bad, the toxins that are just everywhere. So she said, prepare yourself. And you can't even get to the areas that were completely burnt down unless you had lived there. So we had a good friend, a fellow musician, who lost absolutely everything. He lived in Altadena with his wife and 2 small kids. They're both musicians.
This is delicious.
They were pretty successful for being independent musicians. They did music for a lot of TV shows. They had a couple bands. They are just tremendously wonderful, wonderful people. And so to hear that our friend Brandon and his family had lost everything was just, everything, every piece of clothing, every vintage instrument that you could never be replaced, every tape, everything. And so when I, heard this, someone instantly set up a GoFundMe. Of course, I went on the GoFundMe. I made the donation. And then I went to the site I just wanted to make sure that the donation went through. And I was looking through all the names and seeing all the people I used to work with and the really tight community and, that person and all their good wishes. And I kept scrolling through and kept scrolling through, and I didn't see my name. And I realized I had gotten hacked, not by a computer, but by my ego. Because my PayPal account was connected to this publishing company that I use. So no one would ever know that donation was from me. And not that it matters, but there was just, in that instant, I went from feeling like this outpouring of wanting to help and generosity, which I still did, to that one little thing that showed me, but I wanted my name with all the other names, And, I wasn't going to try to, I wasn't going to try to fix it or anything, but, the donation went through. But it was a real clarifying moment and something that didn't feel too good. And so I'd recently had done this meditation where they were reciting quotes from Nisargadatta, who was this Indian mystic of the last century. And he said two things that really just struck me. The first was, do not pretend to be what you are not. And the second one was, do not refuse to be what you are. And that second one just really, it wasn't even a thinking thing. It was, not who you are, what you are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference as I see it tonight and how it can really be useful in giving us a little more freedom in how we live our life and who we think we are. Don't pretend to be what you're not, but also don't refuse to be what you are. And so when I was thinking, don't refuse to be what you are, then what are we? And supposedly when the Buddha was asked this, he answered, he was awake. So what does that mean? Does it mean you love everybody, you always do the right thing? Does it mean that our true self is some other thing that we're idealizing, but we're not really living day to day? So I was, it is just words, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, the difference between being a who and being a what. And how a who can be really useful, because like in that moment, what was useful was, oh, I still have a little bit thing in me that not only wanted to be recognized, that's ego, but also a good thing was I miss my community. I want to be more connected to them. I still go back there, but like, I don't, I make some effort, but most of my projects aren't there anymore. So, that was a good thing. I want to be more connected. So that showed me that. It showed me that, 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had 2 nickels to rub together to donate to someone. So that was good that I could give what I could. It's not, when people have lost everything, even if they have some insurance, it's just going to be years and years. It's going to be a long road. So what else can I give? Besides money, give time. I can give instruments, and I'll talk a little bit about something this guy is doing with instruments to help other people. So who can also be useful, because when the who is threatened, it's like we can really clearly see, like if our reputation is being threatened, like that's not who I am, or who do you think I am, or who do you think you are? It can reflect what we think that the world sees about us. But what is this who? It really is just these like sensations that we're trying to figure out what someone thinks of us. We're trying to present a certain thing, so we're perceived in a certain way. And really what we are is just the moment to moment to moment. And it's going to, moment to moment happens regardless of who we think we are, because we're going to be put in situations that we can't always know every right thing to say or do, or that people are going to think of us. So when Nisargadatta said, do not pretend to be what you're not, he was emphasizing the importance of self-awareness. He was emphasizing being authentic. That can be kind of hard to figure out. Urging people to not try to put on a facade, but instead to embrace their true nature. And so what is our true nature? I don't want to say my true nature is to be someone that wants their name on a list. That was my true nature that moment. Some would say Buddha nature. Buddha nature is such a wonderful idea. The idea that all sentient beings without exception have this inherent purity and perfection of mind, untouched by changing mental states. That all beings have the potential to become Buddhas, to have luminous mind that is always present, whether we are aware of it or not. It sounds wonderful, but is that really what we are? Because it sure doesn't seem like it sometimes. I mean, things don't look so good right now. So where is the Buddha nature? And we always see is greed and desire, and it's run amok. And is that who we are actually, our true nature though? Is it just greed and just desire, just survival? It can't be that, because if we were only that, then we probably would have annihilated ourselves by now. And I think sometimes, when we get so upset about seeing all this greed, and it's so upsetting, we have to remember that if throughout time, it never works. That some sort of goodness prevails. There is some coming together, and it might be hard to do. It may not be our preference. But if we want to choose between trying to find what is this nature, I'm probably more Buddha nature than not, but I certainly, don't feel like it's 100%. So what's preventing us? What is preventing us from being the what that is 100%? Instead of this constructed who that we have to protect and defend and make better and improve. So even if we have the best intentions, if they end up causing suffering, then what is the true nature there? Maybe it is just not all up to us. There's a certain, in some of the translations, they'll say conceit, and it's not like stuck up conceit, but like a certain conceit to think that, oh, well, all we have to do is just figure out ourselves, and the world's going to be great. Like it's not all on just one person either. So, could we allow the fact that maybe we're not as Buddha nature as we want, but maybe we're like so much more, that we could be so much more? And how do we, kind of train ourselves to be open enough to see that possibility? To say, I'm like this, but I'm also like this. But what's the greater picture? So a few weeks ago, Anna we were at this meditation, and she quoted Thich Nhat Hanh, and she said, is she here today? I don't think she was up there, but she was saying that Thich Nhat Hanh said something like, there is no rain without raining. So there's water, but the word rain implies a verb. It implies a doing. So like we could say, well, I'm a generous person, a general term, but what are you actually doing? You're just, at some moment in time, you're giving of something. So you're giving, just not this like broad term of being generous, because that could be so relative depending on where you are in your culture and things like that. So we also may be able to give a lot of money away, but be a terrible person. Or we could be a really great neighbor, but we don't vote for local politics. So is that okay? And is it something that we can even figure out? And will it affect our being what we are? Like, well, that person didn't give as much as me, so somehow I'm better or something. So to focus on the verb part of it, the doing, the nurturing, instead of saying, well, I'm a mother. Well, what you are is a nurturer, and you can nurture in so many different ways, but it's the act of doing it. It's the what. So just for a moment, I'd invite you to close your eyes and see what words or feelings come to mind when I ask you, without judgment, what are you? If I say, don't refuse to be what you are, what parts of yourself are you preventing from coming to life? Because we can strive for so many things, but we can also not nurture and not let come up maybe some things that are more naturally ourselves. So you can open your eyes. And when I think about this term, what you are, if we think that any sort of spiritual or meditation path or practice is our path, because it's what we're directing ourselves to study or to do, try to be mindful, try to have loving kindness. It also means when we're not doing that, that's also our path, I think. So if we're always ruminating, we're ruminating. That's what we are right then. That's our path. If we're fearful and afraid, well, that's our path right then. So we can clearly identify it and befriend it, as Tara Brach would say, or we can just name it and just say, okay, I don't have to be that right now. I can be all these other things, or just someone that doesn't know what to be. But in so many teachings, it's the benefit of developing a self-awareness, and even though we don't have a permanent self, but we're trying to have a self-awareness, is that it's supposed to point to a clear seeing. And the clear seeing is like that, oh wow, I'm all these things, and where did they come from? But I'm trying to have some guts to look at it and say it's okay, but my true intention is to see clearly, because that is the direct path to freedom, to freeing the heart. Even when we're suffering, we see all parts of ourselves, even the parts that make us uncomfortable. So if we are able to just contemplate, what am I? What do I spend my time doing? What do I spend my time thinking about, being concerned about? It leads to the question that Bob Hodge would often pose in our meditation group, which is, what's really worth doing in this life? So not just like what you are, but what's worth doing. So the answer is when you develop aware qualities of mind, you're inclining yourself, you're making the intention to gain a sense of what's really important in our limited lifespan. I mean, we don't really have that long of a life. So as long as you're cognizant enough to say, I'm going to maybe try to take a few minutes and meditate and be open, even if it's uncomfortable, just so I can see some things about myself. Because by not pushing away what's already there, that's our moment of clear seeing. And I think that a certain bravery is involved here to say, just like what I started the talk about is, when you have a clear seeing moment of something that you don't really like about yourself, it's so much easier to let it go and to name it and just say, oh, okay, all right, that's there, but okay, I see it. And what the Buddha said about becoming the what he gave us a ton of lists. He gave us a ton of recommendations, mainly the Eightfold Path. But the second part of the Eightfold Path about skillful intention, I kind of think like that's all you really need to remember, because skillful intention is made up of three things, which is letting go, loving kindness, and compassion. And those three things, if applied to any situation, are really going to free you up. So letting go, loving kindness, and compassion. And it's especially helpful to remind yourself of those things when you're kind of lost and locked into any of the hindrances of doubt or fear or worry or anxiety. So if we can let go, I love the idea of how letting go is actually generosity, because it's not like, oh, I want to let go of this like uncomfortable trait, I'm going to give it to someone else. It's more like I'm letting it go so I can be more generous to a person. I can let go of what's holding me back, let go of being the what that we all could be. And this, of course, extends to loving kindness and compassion. So as we follow this idea of just moment to moment, trying to have an awareness of what you are, thinking of as an experiment, well, it's your intentions, it's what you're deciding to do. That we do have a choice in a lot of what we do during the day. When we can see the clear seeing, then it's a lot easier to be ethical. And then you don't have to worry about it. Even though we're living in this world when we're faced with so much and so many examples of people not being ethical, it can be hard on the heart. But just as we know throughout time that people who make those choices of their what's, of their bad decisions and bad ethics and bad behavior, we also have the bodhisattvas. And so, there's a thing on PBS about Julius Caesar. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. It's a really interesting 3-part thing about Julius Caesar. And of course, the way it's presented, it seems like it's happening now. But, it never lasts. The greed, the desire for all this power and control, it always blows up. But you have people that are committed to doing the right things, even if they know that it may not come to fruition in their lifetime. And supposedly the Dalai Lama said that about China when China first invaded Tibet, which was, we can pray, we can do what we can, but it may not be in my lifetime, but it'll be okay. It's hard to do that, especially when it's involving people that you love. So when a bodhisattva is just an ordinary person who makes the vow to say that they're going to live by the 3 intentions of being benefit to all beings, may all circumstances serve to awaken compassion, then why can't we all be bodhisattvas? I was recently in a small little discussion on Zoom with a few people and Pat Coffey, and Pat was saying well, there's that view where we're just monkeys, and it's amazing that we can all go on a plane in the sky and not be, if we were just monkeys, we would be spitting and killing and trying to rip up seats and biting. And, most people cooperate in a plane up in the sky. So, we're doing pretty good. And my thought was, we could do so much better. Like, why couldn't we just, I just saw it a different way. Like, we don't want to be spitting and biting and fighting. That is not our true nature, I believe. Some people, maybe it is. So, what then are we? Part of what we are is one way to look at it, instead of this like who that stays consistent throughout time, is that we are a container for arising emotions and mind states. And we don't necessarily always have control over that, because a lot of times when you finally perceive your emotion, like the chain of events is already kicked in. Like, like try to stop yourself from being angry if something really, like you're already there. You're already crying. You're all those things, by the time it comes to your mind, you're in it. And that's okay. That's there to help you survive. It's a natural reaction. But that's where you want the clear seeing, to try to see, okay, okay, like what do I do? Just the other day, I was, I had this accident 4 months ago. I'm still dealing with medical bills and all that stuff. And even though I'd done everything right and chose the right doctors and got the pre-approval and all this stuff, I'm getting these denials. And I know it will be fine, but it is awful. And I was starting to take it really personally and getting agitated with the customer service person. And, they're in a different country. They're just trying to do their job. They're trying to read the code. And I even had another printout of the thing that said I did everything right. And like, it was like an Escher drawing, every staircase kept going. And I got choked up. And I told my husband, I'm like, am I angry? Am I crying? Like, it's, and then I'm like shaking my fist at society, I mean, it's just, it wasn't useful, but I had to acknowledge that that's how I felt. That's the emotions that were arising. But I also wasn't going to chew out the customer service person on the phone. They're just doing their job. It's not personal. It's not personal. But I'm in the situation. It has to be solved. So, what can I be right then? I need to solve a problem. I don't need to take this personally. I need to just make the right calls. Maybe take a walk first. So Ajahn Amaro, he suggests that when these triggered, activated emotions happen, you can actually really use them as your meditation, because you can deal with the pure, raw sensation as it arises. So instead of, saying, I shouldn't feel like this, you're already feeling like it. So you can, it takes some effort to focus on the sensation and not let the mind go into storytelling. Like, why does this always happen to me? I can't believe this. And this medical system is broken and all that. But establishing, he suggests, a quality of steadiness and clear attention just as you recognize it's happening. And then you use the physical sensation as a meditation object. And you can try a quality of acceptance. I'm feeling like this right now. My body is tense. I'm angry. I feel choked up. But the physical sensation, it's physically happening to you, but those things never last long. I mean, I forget what the studies say, but something like an emotion can only last 90 seconds or something that having the bravery, a little bit of the bravery to say, okay, I'm gonna see how this is going, because my intention is to clearly see this and bring some sort of freedom. So doing all the things that we do, meditate, breath work, getting fresh air, sitting in nature, that's how we develop the clear seeing. So finally, a few things, acknowledging the sensations, locating it in your body. What does it feel like? Having compassion without trying to stop the sensation. And having a certain amount of gratitude that you can experience your emotions in this way. It's a really super direct way to get information about what you are, even if it's hard. And that way you can clarify, like, oh, how much is this my ego or my storytelling? And finally, acknowledging the respect you have for your life, that you're willing to do this. We could all not do this. But there is this inner something that I think that, having a respect for that, for yourself, for doing it, it's a generosity to yourself. So finally, back to Brandon, my friend that lost everything. A lot of people donated to his GoFundMe. His family's still living in a hotel. It's been several months, but he is such a happy guy that so even in spite of losing everything, every vintage instrument, everything they had some things in storage. The storage area got robbed. And then the shelter that was homing their kid's guinea pig, the guinea pig died. So he put on social media a picture of himself in this goofy t-shirt. And he said, I've lost everything. I have no clothes. And so a friend of mine gave me this completely stupid t-shirt. And I'm going to take a picture of myself. If you send me your stupid t-shirt, I'm going to take a picture of it and post it every day. And so this t-shirt was like a cartoon cat holding an arm bone. And it says, I find this humorous, things like that. And I can't tell you the smiles these little photos bring, because he said, I can't wrap my head around this. Then because he's pretty well connected, he started a nonprofit. So a guy that's living in a hotel after a fire, lost everything, starts a nonprofit. And he gets all the music instrument manufacturers that he knows to start trying to replace these vintage instruments, asking people, do you have an old guitar that you don't play? Do you have this? And it's a huge nonprofit now already in like a month. And then he says, once this GoFundMe was like to the goal, he said, I think thank you so much, but my elderly neighbor in Altadena, no one's really donating to her. Can you donate to her instead? So this like endless, just giving. Not to make himself look good, but like that's his true nature. Like if you knew him, you're like, you can't believe it, but you believe it because that's who he is. So I would encourage you to just contemplate what you are, because it's nothing permanent.